Welcome, friends. Glad to be with you again today. Well, today we know we're right on and super duper intelligent because we have with us Mr. Einstein.
Yes, and what we're talking about is relativity in generally speaking.
Sort of relativity. What is real to you, and in fact, the real you. That's the title of our talk today, the real you. Ernest Holmes wrote, "There is a real you which lives in a real God, and the two are one. To know this is to understand the secret of life. To realize this is to understand your relationship with the divine presence." So let's take that apart just a little bit. There is a real you which lives in a real God, and the two are one. Those are some pretty fascinating words. There is a real you that lives in a real God, and the two are one. What that's talking about is the idea that as God is all that is, you are of this essence of God, and therefore the real God lives within you. And we know this reality when we come to understand ourselves and the way life works. And we feel this presence, this divine presence within ourselves. Sometimes we recognize it around us also, and it touches something inside us, and we feel that oneness, that presence, the divine. And so there are ways that we can get to this point of realization in our life where we can feel and experience the qualities of God, joy, peace, love, harmony, and bliss, and where we can know them despite what may be going on around us in the physical realm. So I'm going to give you a few ideas of things for you to contemplate if they feel right and good for you, for the real you. The first one is to be still. Spend time every single day, and especially when you feel chaotic, to just be still, to sit in the silence and to know the truth of yourself, to listen within, to hear that still small voice that is ever within you. That is divine intuition. It is the divine presence. It is the holiest of holies. It is God. And so spend time doing that each day. The second idea is to come to an understanding of that Ernest Holmes quote, to come to an understanding that you live in God. God being all that is, you live in God, and that God lives through you. If God is all that is, God experiences life through each one of us uniquely. And the only one that we're responsible for, thank heavens, is ourself, right, honey?
That's true.
We know that one, and sometimes that comes up to bite us in the butt, right? and we have to re-examine that all over again to realize that there are, in the physical realm, two parts of this idea. The part that I am in God and that God is in me. The third idea is to spend time in your own mind, within yourself, exploring what makes you feel passionate about life, what makes you feel authentic, what gives you great joy, and what feels real. Because whatever that is, whatever those ideas are that speak to you, that's what you should be spending your time doing. Because those are the things that make you feel real, that make you feel connected to life. And so having our spirituality, having our career, choosing our family, choosing our friends wisely, our relationships, Choosing these things wisely from a place of what feels right and good for us is vitally important. Then consider if there are things that are restricting your life that you need to give up or make changes regarding. It's about being willing to do the work of letting go, and sometimes that can be difficult, but it is always worth it. When it doesn't feel right, there's a reason for that. It probably isn't right. The fifth idea is to contemplate the networks that you have designed which assist you in your life, which assist your good. And that would be perhaps reading books, having your spiritual practices, your relationships, any networks that you build up for communications that sustain you. I know during this time of being more distanced from others, I'm finding that reaching out and communicating with people is keeping me sustained and peaceful. It keeps me connected, and that's invaluable. And the last idea is to give thanks. Give thanks for everything that is awesome in your life. And when we start looking, we'll find more and more and more to be thankful for. And that real you within you vibrates at this level of gratitude and joy.
When you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, you see your physical characteristics, and you take account of what you look like and see yourself and make sure your physical self looks good before you go out into the world. And so when you look at yourself in the mirror, quite often you think of yourself in your physical form. But when you think about yourself, more than likely you don't think of your physical form as the first thing that pops into your head. You may think of your desires and your wishes and your dreams and the inner workings of your personality, rather than that what shows up in your physical form. And more than likely, when you think of your friends and people that you are impressed by or admire, it's people you admire, you very likely don't think of their physical form as much as you think about those factors that you admire in those other people. And so you know that there's something bigger under the surface, under that physical form of who we are. And like an iceberg, that which is within us is greater than we see and experience on the physical realm. We have learned throughout life that appearances may be deceiving, and we know that you can't judge a book by its cover. We know that what's inside the book is ever so much more powerful and expressive than what is by the title. Walt Whitman says that a man is not contained between his hat and his boots. There's more to a man than what we see in a physical form.
And a woman.
That's true, between her bonnet and her high heels. So where do I end and where does God begin? Well, that's kind of a challenge, isn't it? Well, the answer is there is no point, because all of me is God. All of me is God expressing. And so therefore there is no place where I end and God begins. I am God in expression.
And so is everyone and everything else.
Yes. In science of mind and in quantum physics, we talk about quite often what is called tangled hierarchy, or we can think of it as circular hierarchy. Amiga Goswami says a simple hierarchy is that's how a lower level affects a higher level, or vice versa, how higher levels affect lower levels. But we still can tell what is the higher and lower in the hierarchy. By contrast, in tangled hierarchies, the levels of causality are so intertwined that we can no longer identify which is the lower level and which is the higher level. That's because we are God in expression. We are God working constantly. We create in our experience the same way that God creates in the universal experience. And so when we are doing that, when we are living the science of mind, we don't always recognize that we are God creating in our own life experiences. We are God in expression. the difference between what we see and what we are is not really an illusion as much as it's an underlying unseen truth, and we're revealing truths about ourselves and realizing we are greater than this physical form, and we are greater than the circumstances in our life, and we are greater and able to change those circumstances and create the life we dream and wish to experience.
Well said, my man, well said. So as you go forth from this time that we've spent together, I hope you'll take a little time to give yourself the gift of getting to know the real you, the divine within you, and allow that divine to come out and express in all that you do and in all that you say.
And all that you are.
And all that you are. And we honor and recognize in each and every one of you the real you. And so it is.
So it is.